This audiobook opens the sealed teachings of the forbidden logos, revealing the mystical truth that words are the architecture of life. As you listen, you'll remember a power you once had, the ability to command reality through speech. These secrets were hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to hear them again. What you say next matters more than you know. The Forbidden Logos. Introduction. You have been taught that words are tools for expression, but this teaching reveals a deeper truth. Words are forces, and speech is an act of creation. Long before language was reduced to habit and noise, the spoken word was known as a sacred current through which the universe arranged itself into form. That same current still moves through you. It has never left. Within your voice rests an ancient inheritance, a creative authority bestowed at the moment existence first spoke itself into being. When you utter a word, you do more than communicate a thought. You release a vibration that enters the unseen architecture of reality. Each sound carries intent, each phrase carries direction, and the universe listens without question. When your words align with divine intelligence, you resonate with the original utterance that ignited the stars. Sound becomes law. Speech becomes command. What you declare with certainty begins to assemble itself beyond the veil, arranging circumstances, encounters, and outcomes in quiet obedience. This is not metaphor, it is remembrance. Yet power demands awareness. The ancients knew that careless speech fractures harmony, while deliberate words restore it. Every sentence you release either binds you to limitation or opens a path toward expansion. The universe does not judge your words, it fulfills them. It echoes back precisely what you have spoken, whether born of fear or of knowing. Your initiation begins not with speaking, but with listening. Listen to the language you have lived by. Notice the vows of doubt, the spells of scarcity, the unconscious decrees you have repeated until they hardened into experience. These were not punishments. They were instructions faithfully carried out. Now the same law stands ready to serve you anew. When you speak from truth, abundance, and inner authority, reality recalibrates. This is conscious resonance, the moment language becomes sacred again. Here, words are seeds, silence is soil, and you are the voice through which infinite possibility takes shape. Before we get into the book, comment "I am ready" to affirm your intention to the universe. Part 1. The Awakening Spiral. Chapter 1. The Hidden Echo. You're about to discover a truth so fundamental that it has been woven into the very fabric of creation since time immemorial. In the quietest moments before dawn, when the world holds its breath, there exists a vibration, an eternal hum that carries the fingerprint of your own being. In a valley where ancient wisdom still whispers through morning mist, lived Mabel, who first noticed this sacred resonance in the stillness of daybreak. As she sat in her meditation room, the early light barely touching the horizon, she perceived something beyond mere silence. It was a living presence, a subtle frequency that seemed to respond to her very awareness of it. Through this experience, she uncovered the first key. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the canvas upon which all creation paints its symphony. The universe speaks in the language of vibration, and every word you utter sends ripples through this cosmic sea. Your voice carries more than mere sound. It bears your energetic signature, your deepest intentions, and when aligned with gratitude, it becomes a magnet drawing corresponding circumstances into your life. Consider Cyril, the wise gardener who understood this hidden law. Each morning he would tend to his modest garden, speaking words of appreciation to every seedling and sprout. His neighbors thought him peculiar until they witnessed the miracle. Flowers blooming out of season, vegetables growing in unprecedented abundance. The soil itself seemed to dance to the frequency of his loving words. What Cyril had discovered was not magic, but a universal principle. Words carried on the wings of love have the power to rearrange physical reality. His gratitude-laden whispers were more than mere utterances. They were instructions to the very matrix of creation. The ancient practice of sacred utterance. Find a quiet space as dawn approaches. Settle into a comfortable position and close your eyes. Allow your breath to find its natural rhythm, neither forced nor controlled. As stillness envelops you, let two sacred words arise naturally from the depths of your heart. These words will come unbidden, like a remembered song. Begin repeating them gently, not with your voice, but with your inner being. Continue until the distinction between thought and breath dissolves, until you feel the vibration of these words becoming one with the eternal hum of existence. Let this practice continue until you sense stillness itself beginning to sing through your entire being. This is not merely a meditation. It is an awakening to the creative power that has been yours since the beginning of time. Through this practice, you align yourself with the very frequency of manifestation, allowing the universe to echo back your heart's truest intentions. Chapter 2. The Mirror of Speech. The power of your words extends far beyond their meaning. They are living bridges between thought and manifestation. When you speak, you are not merely making sounds. You are weaving patterns into the ethereal fabric of existence itself. In a moment of profound realization, Evelyn discovered this truth through an act of self-forgiveness. Standing alone in her chamber one evening, she spoke gentle words of absolution to herself. As the sounds left her lips, something extraordinary occurred. The very air around her seemed to shimmer and lighten, as if an invisible weight had been lifted from the atmosphere itself. In that moment, she understood that self-talk is not merely internal dialogue, but a force that gathers substance in the physical world. Your every utterance carries a specific frequency. When you speak with love, appreciation, or forgiveness, you generate vibrations that resonate with the highest creative forces of the universe. These vibrations then begin their sacred work of engineering your reality, much like a master architect designs spaces that shape human experience. Harold, a wise businessman, understood this principle intuitively. Before entering a particularly challenging meeting, he paused in the corridor and spoke words of blessing over the upcoming interaction. As he entered the conference room, something remarkable unfolded. The palpable tension that had built up among the participants began to soften and shift. Like invisible hands reshaping clay, his blessed words had altered the energetic architecture of the space. What could have been a confrontational encounter transformed into a collaborative dialogue, demonstrating how language itself can restructure the fabric of experience. The universe responds not just to the dictionary meaning of your words, but to the vibrational quality they carry. Each phrase you speak either opens or closes doorways of alignment with universal forces. When your words arise from love, gratitude, or blessing, they create pathways through which divine intelligence can flow more freely into your experience. The ancient practice of mirror blessing. Find a quiet space where you can be alone with your reflection. Sit or stand before a mirror in gentle lighting. Allow your eyes to meet your own gaze with softness. Begin speaking to yourself as you would to a beloved friend. Let words of forgiveness, acceptance, and appreciation flow naturally from your heart. Continue this sacred dialogue until you notice a shift, a moment when the sound of your own forgiveness feels like sunlight touching the surface of still water, creating ripples of light that transform both the speaker and the spoken to. Through this practice, you begin to understand that your words are not mere expressions. They are instruments of transformation, capable of reshaping both your inner and outer reality. Chapter 3. The River Within. Your voice carries a magnetic power that shapes the very essence of reality around you. Like ripples on still water, each word you utter sends waves through the universal consciousness, touching lives in ways both seen and unseen. Behind her woodland dwelling, Dottie discovered this sacred truth. Each morning, she would observe the gentle stream that wound through her garden, its waters dancing in perfect synchronicity with her own breath. As her chest rose and fell, the water seemed to pulse with a matching cadence, revealing the hidden connection between inner state and outer reality. Through this simple observation, she unveiled one of the universe's most potent secrets. When you align your inner flow with the natural rhythms of life, the world responds in kind. The ancient wisdom teaches that life force moves as water moves, without resistance, without attachment. When you release the need to control, to grasp, to force, you become like the stream that effortlessly finds its path. Your words, carried on the breath of intention, become droplets of transformation in the great river of existence. This truth found further expression through Lyle's experience in the heart of the bustling city. Amid the urban clamor, he would sit beside the fountains, their waters reaching skyward in eternal dance. As he softly intoned his sacred phrase, words that had emerged from the depths of his soul, something remarkable began to unfold. Passers-by, touched by an invisible force, found themselves smiling without knowing why. Their spirits lifted by the mere proximity to his aligned vibration, they carried this lightness forward into their day. These experiences reveal the profound truth that vibration transcends the physical realm. It is the original language of the universe, the currency through which all exchange truly occurs. Before words, before thoughts, before form itself, there was vibration, and through conscious use of sound and breath, you tap into this primordial force of creation. Ancient practice. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Allow your breath to become like flowing water, smooth, continuous, unforced. As you breathe, let your chosen sacred words rise naturally with each cycle of inhalation and exhalation. Continue until you feel your own rhythm merging with the pulse of life around you, until the boundary between inner and outer dissolves in the stream of unified consciousness. In this state of flow, you become both the music and the musician, the wave and the ocean. Chapter 4. The Tender Frequency. Within the tapestry of universal law lies a truth as bright as morning. Joy vibrates at the highest frequency of all human emotions. Through this understanding, you unlock one of existence's most potent secrets. That which brings you joy naturally aligns you with the creative force of life itself. In a small village nestled among ancient hills, Nora understood this wisdom without ever reading a spiritual text. Her laughter, pure and unrestrained, worked miracles that no amount of counseling or conversation could achieve. When tensions rose in the marketplace, her spontaneous mirth would ripple through the air, dissolving conflicts before they could take root. Those touched by her laughter found their burdens mysteriously lightened, their worries transformed into whispers of possibility. This is because joy represents your natural state of being, your original resonance with the universe. When you laugh freely, you momentarily remember your true vibration, and in that remembrance, creation itself bends toward you with particular attention. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, responds first to those frequencies that match its own nature: love, joy, and gratitude. Victor discovered this truth through a different doorway. After years of carrying the weight of past mistakes, he began a practice of blessing each remembered error. Instead of punishment, he offered acceptance. Rather than shame, he chose compassion. As he whispered words of grace over these shadows in his mind, he felt an unmistakable lightening, as though each blessing raised his frequency closer to freedom. His experience reveals another layer of this eternal principle. Redemption exists not in the realm of penance, but in the realm of frequency. When you shift your vibration through blessing and acceptance, you literally transform the energy field around past events. This is why forgiveness holds such power. It alters not just your perception, but the very frequency at which your consciousness operates. The ancient practice. As the day draws to a close, settle into a space of quiet reflection. Call to mind one moment of pure laughter from your day, a genuine expression of joy, however brief it may have been. Allow yourself to fully re-experience this moment, feeling its vibration in every cell of your being. Now, through this remembered joy, speak your sacred words. Let them ride on the wings of your laughter, allowing gratitude to naturally arise and expand until it touches every shadow in your consciousness. In this practice, you unite the highest frequencies available to human experience: joy, gratitude, and sacred sound, creating a harmony that the universe cannot help but echo back to you in the form of grace. Through this daily ritual, you learn to raise your baseline frequency closer to joy's natural resonance, making alignment with universal forces not just possible but inevitable. Chapter 5. The Word and the Wound. In the sacred spaces between thoughts, vibrations carry healing on waves of sound. What you whisper to yourself shapes not just your mind, but the very tissues of your being. Through the ages, this wisdom has flowed like a golden thread, connecting those who discovered the subtle art of inner harmony. Long ago, Sadie walked through life with shoulders bent beneath the weight of self-reproach. Words she had absorbed in childhood, "not enough, always wrong," became a mantra that etched itself into her bones. Her body, ever faithful to the messages it received, tightened and twisted until pain became her constant companion. In this, she embodied an ageless truth. The vocabulary of your inner dialogue writes itself upon your flesh. Yet the universe, in its infinite wisdom, offers balance in all things. Edwin, a potter whose hands had grown stiff with arthritis, discovered this truth through necessity rather than design. Each morning, As he sat at his wheel, he began replacing his usual frustrated mutterings with gentle words of acceptance. "These hands have served me well," he would say, and continue to create beauty. Within weeks, the persistent ache that had plagued his joints began to soften, like clay yielding to loving hands. The body is an ancient temple, attuned to frequencies far subtler than most realize. It remembers the language of love, even when you have forgotten. Every cell vibrates in response to your words, whether spoken aloud or whispered in the silence of your thoughts. When you shift from criticism to blessing, from judgment to acceptance, your physical form responds with remarkable intelligence. This wisdom reveals itself in the way tension melts under kind words, how chronic discomfort eases in the presence of self-compassion. Your body is not merely a machine, but a living instrument that plays the music of your thoughts. The frequency of tenderness resonates at a level that penetrates deep into the cellular memory, awakening healing potential that has lain dormant. Ancient practice. Find a quiet moment and settle into stillness. Place one hand where discomfort dwells in your body. With gentle attention, speak words of peace to this area. Let your voice carry the warmth of acceptance. I honor you. I thank you. Be at peace. Continue until you feel warmth spreading beneath your palm, as though your cells are remembering a love song long forgotten. This is not merely exercise. It is the restoration of sacred dialogue between consciousness and form. Chapter 6. The Listening Ground. In the depths of silence lies a wisdom more potent than 1,000 spoken words. You have been taught that manifestation requires constant declaration, yet the ancient masters knew a truth far deeper, the power of sacred stillness. Pearl, a merchant's daughter, spent countless hours in fervent prayer, her lips moving in endless supplication. Day after day, she waited for signs, for answers, for divine intervention. Yet it was only when exhaustion finally stilled her tongue that she discovered the missing piece of her spiritual practice. In the spaces between her words, in the moments when her mind fell quiet, answers emerged like dawn breaking over still waters. This mirrors your own journey. You speak your desires into the universe, shaping reality with the power of your words. Yet manifestation requires both the outward flow of intention and the inward flow of divine wisdom. Just as breathing consists of both inhale and exhale, the sacred art of creation demands both expression and reception. Clyde, a wise merchant, uncovered this truth through an unexpected path. Frustrated by life's complexities, he took a vow of silence for a single day. As the hours passed, something extraordinary occurred. Without the constant chatter of his voice, his mind began to clear like a pond settling after a storm. Ideas appeared fully formed, rising from the depths of silence like perfectly formed pearls. Solutions to long-standing problems emerged effortlessly, as if they had been waiting patiently for him to stop talking long enough to notice them. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. When you fill every moment with words, you leave no space for divine guidance to enter. It is like trying to pour fresh water into an already full cup. There is simply no room for the new to enter. Think of silence not as emptiness, but as a sacred vessel waiting to be filled with wisdom. Each quiet moment creates space for the universe to respond, to guide, to reveal. Your role is not to fill every second with sound, but to cultivate the wisdom of knowing when to speak and when to listen. The ancient practice of sacred silence. Find a quiet place where you will remain undisturbed. Settle into a comfortable position, allowing your body to relax completely. Close your eyes and let your breath find its natural rhythm. Now simply sit in stillness. Let your mind gradually exhale all thoughts, all words, all expectations. Stay present in this sacred silence until you begin to sense the subtle responses of the universe between your heartbeats. In this space of pure receptivity, true guidance emerges. In this practice lies the missing key to manifestation, the art of divine listening. For it is in these moments of perfect stillness that the universe reveals its deepest mysteries. Chapter 7. The Word that Seeds Light. In the depths of an ancient garden there exists a truth so fundamental it has shaped the destiny of every soul who has discovered it. The power of your words flows not from their sound, but from the soil in which they are planted. Emma tended her spiritual garden with diligence, scattering affirmations like seeds across the landscape of her life. Each morning and evening, she would speak her desires into the air, yet her words seemed to drift away like leaves in the wind. Though her voice rang clear, her harvest remained barren. The mystery of this absence lay not in her words, but in the ground beneath them. Within you resides a sacred field where every utterance takes root. This field, cultivated by your deepest beliefs, determines what will flourish and what will wither. When doubt mingles with the soil, even the most powerful declarations struggle to break through to sunlight. Your words may be perfect, but they must be planted in certainty to bear fruit. Floyd, a humble craftsman, understood this wisdom without ever having studied it. Each morning he would speak 2 simple words, not as a plea to the universe, but as a statement of what he knew was already his. His certainty was not born of arrogance, but of an unshakable alignment with universal truth. Where others saw coincidence, he recognized the natural flowering of his planted faith. Strangers would appear with exactly what he needed. Opportunities would manifest as naturally as dew forms on morning grass. His words, though simple, grew into mighty oaks because they were rooted in the rich soil of absolute knowing. The ancient teaching reveals that manifestation follows the law of the harvest. A seed requires fertile soil. Yet even the finest soil serves no purpose without the seed of spoken intention. It is the marriage of word and belief that creates the miracle of growth. Your practice now calls you to plant with power. Choose your sacred phrase with care, knowing it carries the blueprint of your desire. Speak it once, not as a hope for the future, but as an acknowledgement of what already exists in the eternal now. Then rest in the silence of complete trust, like a farmer who knows the secrets of nature's timing. Your work is not to dig up the seed each day to check its progress, but to maintain the fertile ground of unwavering faith. The universe responds not to the volume of your voice, but to the depth of your conviction. In this sacred practice, you learn to speak less and trust more, knowing that what is planted in certainty must, by universal law, break through to manifestation. Practice sit in perfect stillness, centering yourself in unshakable knowing. Speak your chosen phrase once with the authority of absolute certainty. Then rest in serene expectancy, as though your desire has already sprouted and grows even now beneath the surface of physical reality. Chapter 8. The Echo of Choice. In the stillness before dawn, a merchant stood at a fork in the desert road. Two paths stretched before him, one leading to distant mountains shrouded in mist, the other winding toward a shimmering oasis. Paralyzed by indecision, he closed his eyes and whispered an ancient blessing taught by his grandmother. In that moment, time seemed to suspend itself, and clarity emerged like the first rays of sunlight breaking through clouds. Within you dwells this same timeless wisdom. The universe speaks not through force, but through resonance, guiding your steps when you align with its flow. Each choice point becomes a gateway to expanded possibility when approached with sacred awareness rather than anxious grasping. May discovered this truth during a period when life felt like an endless maze of obligations. Her days unfolded in rigid patterns until she learned to pause at each intersection and attune to the deeper current moving beneath surface appearances. By whispering the sacred words passed down through generations, she found that time itself seemed to create space around her decisions. The rigid walls of routine dissolved, revealing hidden doorways she had never noticed before. This practice was mirrored by Glenn, who faced a pivotal career decision. Instead of forcing an answer, he blessed each option equally, releasing his attachment to outcomes. As he held this state of balanced appreciation, the path forward revealed itself with such natural grace that the choice felt less like a decision and more like a recognition. The ancient teaching reveals that freedom exists not in having unlimited options, but in approaching each choice point from a state of inner harmony. When you speak from this aligned space, the universe responds not to your words alone, but to the resonance they carry. Your declarations become seeds planted in fertile soil, rather than scattered on barren ground. The practice, find a quiet space and bring to mind a choice that awaits your attention. Let your breath become soft and steady. Begin whispering the sacred words, allowing their vibration to fill your being until all sense of urgency or pressure dissolves. Rest in this space of pure potential until movement arises naturally from stillness. Notice how the path forward emerges not from mental analysis, but from a deeper knowing that was always present, waiting to be acknowledged. Remember, true power lies not in forcing decisions, but in aligning with the natural flow of wisdom that precedes all action. In this space of sacred pause, every crossroads becomes an invitation to experience the freedom that exists before choice itself. Chapter 9. The Word Made Habit. A woman walked barefoot through the morning dew, letting each step become a benediction. As sunlight filtered through leaves, she noticed how a simple greeting to the dawn transformed an ordinary moment into communion with the infinite. The way you engage with daily rituals shapes the fabric of existence itself. Each gesture, when infused with conscious intention, becomes a bridge between the mundane and the divine. The universe does not distinguish between grand ceremonies and quiet moments. It responds to the quality of awareness you bring to every action. Your morning routine holds untapped potential for transformation. What appears as mere habit can become a sacred dialogue when approached with reverence. The simple act of preparing your first drink of the day presents an opportunity to commune with the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all of creation. Polly discovered this truth when she began treating her morning coffee as a conversation with the universe. Rather than rushing through breakfast lost in worried thoughts, she turned each sip into an offering of gratitude. The steam rising from her cup became incense, the warmth spreading through her body, a reminder of divine presence. Through this practice, her entire day shifted. Meetings flowed with unexpected ease, challenges resolved themselves naturally, and opportunities appeared as if summoned by the morning's communion. Dean's experience revealed another layer of this wisdom. An avid journal keeper, he filled notebooks with positive statements and goals. Yet he noticed these written affirmations often felt hollow, failing to manifest desired changes. Everything shifted when he began incorporating his declarations into sensory experience. While savoring his morning tea, he would feel the reality of his intentions, not just think them. The warmth of the cup became the tangible presence of abundance. Each sip, a taste of success already achieved. Through this practice, his words gained substance, transforming from mere ink on paper into living energy that reshaped circumstances. These accounts illuminate an essential truth. Transformation occurs through embodied awareness rather than mechanical repetition. When you infuse ordinary moments with conscious presence, you encode new patterns into the very substance of your day. Each mindful action becomes a thread in the tapestry of manifestation, weaving your intentions into physical reality. The practice. Select a simple daily activity, preparing tea, washing hands, or walking to your door. As you perform this action, let the sacred words arise naturally with each movement. Feel their resonance in your body, allowing sensation to anchor their meaning into physical experience. Continue this practice until the ordinary begins to pulse with extraordinary significance, and watch as your entire day transforms through this simple yet powerful alignment. Chapter 10. The Sacred Return. In the depths of an ancient valley, a shepherd lost his way as storm clouds gathered. Though he had wandered these paths countless times before, doubt crept in like evening shadows. As thunder rolled across the hills, he remembered the wisdom passed down by his ancestors. That guidance never truly leaves. It merely waits in silence for recognition. You too may have walked through valleys of uncertainty, questioning whether your connection to the infinite has dimmed. Yet what appears as loss of faith is often simply a shift in perception. The universal force that guides all creation never withdraws its presence. It remains as constant as the air you breathe, as faithful as the dawn that follows every night. When you feel distant from your spiritual center, remember that doubt itself is part of the sacred dance. The very awareness of separation contains within it the seed of return. Your breath, flowing without effort or conscious direction, carries the eternal reminder that you are forever held in the embrace of divine intelligence. Ruth discovered this truth during a period of intense questioning. After years of spiritual practice, she found herself unable to access the certainty she once knew. Her prayers felt hollow, her affirmations empty. Yet even as she thought she had lost her way, she noticed how her breath continued its steady rhythm, in and out, like waves upon the shore. In that simple observation, faith began to stir again. She realized that just as breath requires no belief to sustain it, divine presence continues its work, regardless of our temporary doubts. Homer's journey mirrored this wisdom. A lifetime of spiritual seeking had given way to cynicism, his former practices abandoned like childhood toys. Yet even in his strongest moments of denial, synchronicities continued to weave through his days, small miracles he could no longer ignore. When he finally softened his resistance, acknowledging the patient presence that had never left. The flow of life's magic resumed with renewed vigor. His experience revealed that divine intelligence holds no grudges. It simply waits, like a parent watching a child's temporary tantrum, knowing reconciliation is inevitable. These accounts illuminate an essential truth. Faith is not something you must manufacture or maintain. Rather, it is your natural state of being, as inherent as your heartbeat. When you seem to lose your way, the path back is not through forcing belief, but through gentle recognition of what never left. The practice. As darkness settles tonight, find a quiet place where you can be undisturbed. For each regret or doubt that has shadowed your path, speak your sacred phrase once. Watch how each utterance lightens the burden, like smoke dissolving into evening air. Let each repetition remind you that reconciliation with the infinite requires only your willingness to return to what was never truly lost. Part 2. The Expansion Spiral. Chapter 11. The Resistance Dance. An ancient truth lies dormant in your heart. You cannot drift beyond the reach of divine resonance. Each breath carries you closer to remembrance, even when your mind wanders into shadows of doubt. In the mystical chambers of time, Clara stood at the crossroads of surrender and control. Day after day, she challenged the universe's timing, armor-clad in logic and plans. Her questions echoed against the vault of heaven. Why not now? Why this way? Each demand for answers fortified the walls between her and grace. Yet exhaustion proved her greatest teacher, wearing down resistance until truth shone through the cracks of her certainty. Through her struggle, you glimpse an eternal principle. What you fight against fights back, while what you embrace transforms you. Milton's journey illuminates another facet of this wisdom. When delay touched his path, rather than wrestling with circumstance, he chose to wrap the sacred words around his waiting like a mantle of peace. As these sounds passed his lips, something shifted, not in the external timing, but in the quality of his attention. Where once stood barricades of resistance, channels of clarity emerged. His experience unveils a subtle law. Acceptance doesn't mean defeat. It means aligning with a greater current. The universe speaks in paradox. What seems like loss becomes gateway to expansion. When you release your grip on how things must unfold, space opens for divine orchestration. Your surrender is not submission to circumstance, but elevation to a higher order of creation. Let this ancient practice guide you through moments of resistance. Each time frustration rises to meet you, answer it with the sacred words. Feel their vibration dissolving the hard edges of your expectations. Let them transform tension into liquid trust, flowing through the channels of your being. This is not mere repetition of sounds, but activation of remembrance. You are not separate from the power that moves worlds. Your trust is not naive. It is the most sophisticated response to life's unfolding mystery. As these words pass your lips, feel how they create space within, space for grace to enter, space for divine timing to reveal its perfect rhythm. Your frustration becomes the very doorway through which deeper wisdom enters. In this practice, every obstacle transforms into an altar of awakening. Sacred practice. When resistance grips you, pause. Breathe deeply into that tension. Then, with gentle attention, whisper the two sacred words. Let their sound penetrate each cell of resistance. Continue until you feel the shift, that moment when frustration dissolves into flowing trust. This is not escaping reality, but entering its deeper currents. Chapter 12. The Breath of Trust. You stand now at the threshold of a timeless teaching, one that has guided mystics and masters through the ages. The breath, that sacred current flowing through your being, speaks a language more ancient than words. In a quiet valley, Ivy clutched her plans like shields against uncertainty. Each morning she would wake before dawn, mind racing with endless calculations and contingencies. Her thoughts spiraled into darker labyrinths of what-ifs, until anxiety wrapped around her chest like iron bands. Yet in that moment of greatest constraint, the universe whispered its gentlest lesson. The breath, eternally patient, waited to show her a deeper truth. As she finally loosened her grip on control, something extraordinary began to unfold. Her inhale became a bridge to divine intelligence, her exhale a release of resistance. Without effort or striving, her world began to shift. This ancient wisdom reveals that your breath carries more power than all your careful strategies. It is the first and final prayer, the silent song that speaks directly to the heart of creation. Each inhale draws in universal life force. Each exhale surrenders to its perfect flow. Willis discovered this truth during his darkest hour. When all paths seemed blocked, he remembered the teaching. Breath is the bridge between thought and manifestation. Instead of forcing solutions, he allowed his breath to become his practice. With each inhale, he drew in the essence of his vision. With each exhale, he released the need to control its unfolding. Within days, what seemed impossible began arranging itself with effortless grace. The meaning crystallizes. Your breath is not merely air moving through lungs. It is the very current of creation itself. When aligned with intention, it becomes a force that gently dissolves obstacles and opens new pathways. This is not mysticism, but the practical application of universal law. The practice. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Settle into a comfortable position and allow your breath to find its natural rhythm. As you inhale, silently speak the first sacred word, feeling it fill your being with light. As you exhale, speak the second word, releasing all resistance. Continue this rhythm until you feel your thoughts dissolve into the pure stream of breath and worry melts into trust. Let this breath prayer carry you beyond the mind's need to control, into the vast space where all possibilities exist. Chapter 13. The Sacred Paradox. Long ago, in the hidden chambers of understanding, the wise ones discovered a truth so simple it seemed impossible, that belief shapes reality, not the other way around. Today you stand at the edge of this same revelation. In a bustling marketplace, Hazel demanded signs and wonders before she would open her heart to trust. With crossed arms and furrowed brow, she challenged the universe. "Show me first, then I'll believe." Days turned to weeks as she waited, her doubt growing stronger with each passing moment. The silence that met her demands held a teaching she wasn't yet ready to grasp. But silence itself became her teacher. In the space between her demands, a subtle shift began. As her resistance softened, she noticed small synchronicities, a friend's timely call, an unexpected solution, a moment of perfect peace. These whispers of grace weren't the dramatic proof she had demanded, but something far more precious, They were the natural flowering of her gradually opening heart. The veil lifts now to reveal an eternal principle. Evidence flows toward those who expect it, not those who demand it. Your faith is not a response to miracles, it is their source. This truth rings through every success story ever lived. Just as a garden blooms from seeds planted in darkness, your reality grows from the invisible soil of your beliefs. Consider Amos, who reversed the common pattern. Instead of requiring proof to believe in his success, he chose to live as though it were already accomplished. He walked through his days carrying the quiet certainty of fulfillment in his heart. The world, sensing his unshakable knowing, began to arrange itself accordingly. Opportunities appeared as naturally as dawn follows night, drawn to the magnetic field of his conviction. This wisdom whispers, "What you seek is seeking you, but it can only find you in the vibration of trust." Your belief is not a mere reaction to circumstances. It is the very force that shapes them. The universe responds not to your words or wishes, but to the unwavering signal of your deepest knowing. Ancient practice. Settle into a space of calm awareness. Speak your chosen phrase not as a hope or plea, but as a statement of what already is. Let a smile touch your lips, not from effort or pretense, but from the serene certainty that what you declare is already moving toward you through the invisible realms. Rest in this knowing, as natural as breathing, as certain as dawn. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Word That Heals Shadow. In the depths of night, where ancient wisdom whispers most clearly, a truth emerges about the nature of darkness and light. They are not enemies, but dance partners in the great ballet of consciousness. A merchant named Lena discovered this truth when feelings of jealousy arose as she watched others achieve what she desired. Each pang of envy felt like a betrayal of her spiritual path. Yet instead of pushing these feelings away, she began wrapping them in the sacred words, speaking them with the same tenderness one might use to comfort a child. With each gentle utterance, the jealousy transformed from a threatening shadow into a messenger pointing toward her deepest yearnings. This practice reveals the first key of transformation, that what you resist persists, but what you embrace dissolves into wisdom. Your shadows are not obstacles to overcome, but guides waiting to be understood. They hold within them the seeds of your greatest growth. Felix, a teacher in a small village, embodied this truth when faced with constant criticism from his peers. Rather than defending or attacking, he began transmuting each harsh word into gratitude. Where others saw fault, he found opportunity. "Thank you for showing me where I can grow," became his silent response. Soon, the very ones who had judged him most harshly became his strongest allies. The universe operates through inclusion, not exclusion. Every aspect of your experience, the light and the dark, the easy and the difficult, serves your awakening. When you meet what appears as shadow with the light of acceptance, you discover that darkness itself is simply light waiting to be recognized. Your thoughts, even the unwanted ones, are like waves on the surface of consciousness. They arise not to torment you, but to be held in awareness until their deeper message emerges. Every feeling of lack points toward abundance waiting to be claimed. Every fear masks a power asking to be embraced. The sacred words become most potent when applied to what you wish to avoid. They act as a bridge between resistance and acceptance, between judgment and understanding. Through their vibration, shadows reveal their hidden light. Ancient practice. Sit quietly in a space where you feel safe. When a troubling thought or emotion arises, rather than turning away, gently turn toward it. Speak the sacred words with deep compassion, as though soothing a wounded part of yourself. Continue until you feel warmth spreading through your awareness, transforming what was once cold and feared into understanding and peace. Let this practice remind you that in the eternal dance of creation, every shadow is simply light in disguise. Chapter 15. The Light of Listening Others. In the quiet corners of an ancient marketplace, a healer sat without offering counsel, yet those who spoke to her walked away transformed. This wisdom echoes through time. True healing flows not from words given, but presence offered. You already possess this sacred power of listening, though it may lie dormant beneath layers of habit. When you truly hear another soul, you activate a frequency far beyond mere sound. This vibration reaches into spaces where words cannot go, touching the very essence of what seeks to be healed. The art of sacred listening requires you to still the constant chatter of your own mind. It asks you to create a holy space of silence where another's truth can fully unfold. This is not passive reception, but active communion with the divine spark within each voice that speaks to you. Consider how often solutions arise not from advice given, but from the simple act of being fully present with another's experience. When you listen from this deeper place, you become a living temple where transformation naturally occurs. The universe itself listens through you, and in that listening, healing flows without effort. This sacred art transcends technique. It is a way of being that aligns you with the natural healing currents of existence. As you practice, you'll discover that true listening has a texture, a tangible quality that both speaker and listener can feel. It creates a field of acceptance where shadows naturally dissolve into light. In the presence of such attention, defenses gently lower themselves, anger finds its way to peace, and confusion clears into clarity. This is not your doing. It is the natural result of holding space for divine intelligence to work through the power of presence. The great mystery teaches that within each voice lies a sacred tone, the original sound of that soul's creation. When you listen deeply enough, you begin to hear this tone beneath the words, and in hearing it, you help awaken it in others. An old woman discovered this wisdom while tending her garden. Each morning she would sit quietly, listening to those who came with troubles. She never offered solutions, yet people left feeling lighter, clearer, more whole. The power was not in what she did, but in how completely she received each story into her heart. Practice. Find a comfortable position and close your eyes. As others speak, let their words wash over you like gentle waves. Rather than preparing responses or solutions, simply attune yourself to the sacred tone beneath their words. Feel how this deeper listening creates a field of healing that requires no action on your part. Practice this sacred art daily, remembering that true healing emerges not from what we say, but from how deeply we listen. Chapter 16. The Word and the Path. In a small valley between ancient mountains lived a shepherd who spent his nights studying the stars. Each evening, he traced constellations with his finger, whispering their names as though speaking to old friends. Though his flock provided sustenance, his heart yearned for something more. Yet he dared not voice this longing, fearing that speaking it might disturb the peace of his simple life. The path before you may seem predetermined, carved by circumstance and sealed by time. This illusion of fixedness dissolves the moment you recognize the creative power dwelling in your voice. Each word you speak sends ripples through the fabric of possibility, rearranging the invisible threads that weave tomorrow. When you declare your intentions with clarity and conviction, the universe begins its subtle orchestration. This is not mere wishful thinking, but the activation of an ancient law, the law that binds sound to manifestation. Your voice carries a creative force that shapes reality, though this power often lies dormant behind walls of hesitation. In the marketplace of a distant city, a merchant named Vince spent years selling wares that brought him little joy. Each morning, he would gaze at passing caravans with quiet longing, until one day he spoke aloud his dream of adventure. Within a fortnight, a traveling merchant offered him partnership on trading routes he had only imagined. His spoken words had opened a door that silence kept locked. The universe responds not to silent wishes, but to declared intentions. When you voice your direction with certainty, coincidence bends to accommodate your spoken truth. This is why masters of old taught their students to proclaim their visions rather than harbor them in silence. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space as dawn approaches or dusk settles. Stand with your feet firmly planted on the ground, feeling the earth's solidarity beneath you. Take 3 deep breaths to center yourself in the present moment. Then, with clear voice and open heart, speak your chosen direction as though it already exists. Let your words carry the warmth of gratitude for the unknown path ahead. Repeat this declaration daily, allowing your voice to grow stronger with each utterance. The universe listens not to the volume of your words, but to the resonance of your conviction. Chapter 17. The Sound of Gratitude. In a distant kingdom lived a weaver who created tapestries of such beauty that merchants traveled from far lands to acquire them. Each morning before touching her loom, she would bow to the rising sun and whisper words of gratitude for the gift of another day to create. What puzzled many was that she never worried about securing wool or dyes. These materials seemed to arrive precisely when needed, often brought by strangers who had dreamed of her work. Your path through life responds to the vibrations you send forth. When you speak with certainty, the universe rearranges itself to match your conviction. This is not mere coincidence, but the operation of an ancient law, the law that states your words carry creative force. The path before you may appear fixed, but this is an illusion born of limited perception. Every word you utter sends ripples through the fabric of possibility, opening or closing doors in accordance with your chosen frequency. This is why those who speak with faith often find destiny itself seems to bend toward their vision. You need not see the entire journey to begin. The power lies in declaring your direction with unwavering trust, allowing the universe to arrange the details. Your role is to maintain the vibration of certainty, letting divine intelligence orchestrate the how and when. A merchant once stood at a crossroads, uncertain which direction would lead to prosperity. Instead of consulting maps or seeking advice, He closed his eyes and spoke words of gratitude for the success he knew awaited him. When he opened his eyes, a caravan appeared on the eastern road, led by traders seeking exactly the goods he carried. Like the merchant, you stand at your own crossroads. The path you choose matters less than the energy you bring to it. When you speak with gratitude and certainty, you activate forces beyond physical sight that guide you toward your highest good. Practice. Find a quiet moment at dawn or dusk. Sit in stillness and recall your deepest aspiration. Now speak the sacred words while feeling profound gratitude as if your desire is already manifested. Let this gratitude fill your entire being until you sense abundance as an already present reality rather than a future possibility. Repeat this practice daily, allowing thankfulness to become your natural state of being. Chapter 18. The Word Beyond Effort. In an ancient valley nestled between twin mountains, a potter spent years perfecting his craft through sheer determination. Each day he would wedge and throw clay until his hands ached, striving to create vessels of unmatched beauty. Yet despite his relentless effort, his work remained ordinary. One evening, exhausted beyond measure, he slumped beside his wheel and simply watched the clay spin. In that moment of complete surrender, his hands moved with an ease he had never known, and beneath his touch emerged a vessel of such grace that it seemed born of starlight rather than earth. The universe operates through perfect timing, not through force. When you release the grip of anxious effort, you allow divine intelligence to work through you. This surrender is not resignation, but rather alignment with the natural flow of creation. Your desires are heard the moment they arise. The delay you perceive is often the universe arranging circumstances for optimal manifestation. Like a symphony, each element must enter at precisely the right moment for harmony to emerge. When you cease struggling against divine timing, you enter a state of grace where manifestation occurs with elegant precision. The art of allowing is more powerful than the act of pursuing. In the space of surrender, you discover that what you seek has been seeking you. Your role is not to force outcomes, but to maintain the frequency of trust that allows them to materialize naturally. A weary farmer had tended his fields with increasing desperation as drought persisted. One evening he simply sat on his porch, too tired to worry anymore. As he relaxed into acceptance, the first drops of rain began to fall. The shower that followed was gentle and sustained, exactly what the crops needed, arriving in its own perfect time. Like both the potter and the farmer, you may find that your greatest manifestations arrive not through striving, but through surrender. When exhaustion dissolves your resistance, you often stumble upon the very grace you had been chasing. This is not coincidence, but cosmic law, the principle that ease precedes manifestation. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Speak your sacred words once, infusing them with quiet certainty. Then allow yourself to rest in complete silence for several minutes. Notice how the absence of effort creates space for divine movement. Trust that in this peaceful surrender, the universe is already orchestrating your highest good. Your only task is to remain in this state of receptive stillness, knowing that what is meant for you cannot miss its mark. Chapter 19. The Name Within Names. In a temple high in the mountains, there lived a wise woman named Lean, who knew 1,000 names for the divine. Yet she noticed that birds praised without words, flowers worshipped without sound, and stars glorified through mere presence. One morning, as she watched the sun rise, she realized that every breath was already a prayer, every heartbeat a sacred name. Within you dwells an eternal voice that knows the true name of creation. This voice speaks not through learned phrases, but through the natural rhythm of your being. Every sincere utterance carries the signature of the infinite, for you cannot speak without using the breath of life itself. The search for sacred words often leads away from the simplest truth, that you are already an expression of the divine. Your very existence pronounces a name too vast for human language. When you align with this understanding, every word becomes a prayer, every silence a communion. The universe responds not to complex invocations, but to the authentic voice of your soul. Just as a mother knows her child's cry among thousands, the divine recognizes your unique frequency. Your natural voice, unadorned and genuine, carries more power than all the formal prayers ever written. This is why children often manifest with ease. They haven't learned to separate their voice from their truth. They speak with their whole being, each word carrying the pure vibration of their essence. This same power remains within you, waiting to be remembered. A monk named Tao spent decades searching ancient texts for the most powerful name of God. One day, while sitting beside a stream, he heard a child laughing. In that moment of pure joy, he understood that the sound of genuine happiness was itself a divine name. He had been seeking in scrolls what was already singing in his heart. Like Tao, you may discover that the most powerful invocation is not found in ancient manuscripts, but in the authentic expression of your own being. When you speak from this place of inner truth, you naturally align with the creative force of the universe. Your unique voice becomes a bridge between the seen and unseen realms. Practice. Find a peaceful space and close your eyes. Begin to chant softly, allowing your voice to find its natural tone. Let the sound emerge without judgment or direction. Continue until you feel your own name vibrating with sacred significance, recognizing that your identity is itself a holy word spoken by the universe. In this gentle resonance, experience the truth that you are both the namer and the named, the voice and the echo of divine presence. Chapter 20. The Horizon Within. In the hushed moments before dawn, Rosie climbed the ancient hill overlooking her village. Day after day she had journeyed there, seeking expansion in the distant views, believing wisdom lay somewhere beyond the curved edge of earth and sky. Yet on this morning, something shifted. As she settled into her familiar spot, her breath naturally slowed, and the world around her began to pulse with an inner light. The vast expanse before her suddenly felt like a mirror reflecting the infinite space within. Each breath drew her deeper into an awareness that defied physical bounds. The horizon she had long gazed upon revealed itself as a gateway, not to distant lands, but to the measureless realms of consciousness itself. The universe speaks through such moments of recognition. When you cease searching outward for what already dwells within, the walls between inner and outer dissolve. Your physical form becomes a vessel for boundless awareness, each cell awakening to its connection with the infinite. Oscar discovered this truth during his morning meditation. While others rushed to distant temples and sacred sites, he found himself transported to depths no passport could reach simply by turning attention inward. In stillness, he witnessed how consciousness travels faster than any vehicle, expanding beyond the constraints of space and time. This ancient teaching reminds us that the greatest journeys require no movement at all. The path to expansion lies not in accumulating miles, but in dissolving the illusion of distance itself. When awareness opens fully to the present moment, you discover that all points in creation exist simultaneously within you. Your body is a living temple, each breath a pilgrimage to the sacred. The space between your thoughts holds galaxies. Your heartbeat echoes the pulse of universal wisdom. To access these realms requires no ticket, no preparation, only the willingness to be still and recognize your true nature as boundless awareness. The practice. Find a place where earth meets sky. Let your gaze rest softly on the horizon line. Begin speaking the sacred phrase, not as words thrown out toward distant points, but as vibrations arising from your center. Continue until you feel each syllable resonating within your ribcage, awakening the vast space that lives between your bones. Let the horizon dissolve into the endless expanse of your own being. Part 3. The Embodiment Spiral. Chapter 21. The Radiant Thread. In a bustling marketplace, Beatrice paused amid the chorus of voices surrounding her. Where others heard chaos, she perceived harmony, each laugh, whisper, and call blending into a perfect orchestration of divine expression. The veil between ordinary sound and sacred resonance had grown thin, revealing that all voices emerge from one eternal breath. Through you flows this same recognition. Every sound that reaches your ears carries the signature of Source, whether it arrives as birdsong or street noise, children's laughter or windswept leaves. When you attune to this truth, the world transforms into a living symphony, where no note is random, no voice separate from the whole. Leonard discovered this while walking a moonless path, anxiety threatening to overwhelm his thoughts. As darkness pressed in around him, he began softly speaking the sacred phrase. With each repetition, an inexplicable radiance seemed to emerge, not from without, but as though his words themselves had become light. He realized then that he had never truly been alone, for the source that inspired his speech was the same presence illuminating his way. The ancient teaching reveals that separation is impossible. The divine walks beside you as surely as it breathes within you. When you speak from this awareness, your voice joins a chorus that spans all of creation. Each syllable ripples through the fabric of existence, carrying your unique tone while remaining inseparable from the greater song. This unity exists whether recognized or not. The laughter of strangers contains the same sacred vibration as your most heartfelt prayer. The sigh of wind through trees harmonizes with the pulse in your veins. You are both the music and its listener, the voice and its echo, the single note and the entire symphony. The practice. Find a quiet space and settle into comfortable stillness. Begin speaking the sacred phrase softly, paying attention to how your breath shapes each sound. Allow your awareness to expand until you can no longer distinguish where your voice ends and space begins. Feel how your words emerge from silence and return to it, like waves rising from and dissolving back into the ocean. Continue until you experience yourself as both the source of sound and the space through which it moves. Chapter 22. The Golden Core. What you now discover is the eternal truth that has whispered through the ages. All creation flows from the sacred center within. The heart, far more than a physical organ, serves as the gateway through which divine intelligence expresses itself into form. This wisdom echoes in temples and mountains, carried forward by those who have walked the path before you. George's journey reveals this timeless understanding. In moments of perfect stillness, she discovered a gentle radiance emanating from her chest, not a light seen with physical eyes, but felt with the soul's perception. This glow, ancient teachings tell us, is the very essence of creation itself, waiting to be recognized and released. Owen's experience mirrors this revelation. During his morning meditations, he noticed how each sacred word seemed to rise not from his throat, but from a deeper well of knowing within his heart. As he remained present with this awareness, the luminosity grew, extending beyond the boundaries of his form, touching all it encountered with subtle transformation. Through their experiences, you glimpse a fundamental law of manifestation. Your creative power does not originate in thought or even in speech, but in the radiant core of your being. This internal sun, when acknowledged, becomes the source from which all genuine transformation flows. The vibrations you send forth, whether through word, thought, or feeling, carry this spiritual light. When you speak from this centered awareness, your words become vessels of power, each syllable infused with the energy of Source itself. This is why the ancients taught that true prayer begins in the heart's silence before finding voice through the lips. This truth asks nothing of you except recognition. It requires no special skill or lengthy preparation. The radiance already exists within you, pulsing with quiet certainty, waiting for your awareness to turn inward and acknowledge its presence. Practice. Rest your hand over your chest while whispering the sacred phrase. Allow yourself to feel the warmth beneath your palm gradually expand beyond the confines of your skin. This simple act aligns you with the eternal flow of creation, reminding you that you are not separate from the source of all manifestation. Chapter 23. The Voice Without Sound. In the depths of silence lies a power as potent as spoken word. Through countless generations, mystics and sages have known this truth. The universe responds not to volume, but to vibration. The story of Lily offers a gateway into this ancient wisdom. When illness claimed her voice for a day, Lily discovered something extraordinary. In the forced quiet, her thoughts took on a crystalline clarity she had never known before. Each intention she held in her mind manifested with the same precision as if she had proclaimed it aloud. A misplaced set of keys appeared precisely where her silent thoughts suggested they would be. An unexpected call arrived from the very person she had been thinking of. The universe, it seemed, could hear her just as clearly in silence as in sound. Earl's experience deepens this understanding. From his meditation room, he held thoughts of healing for his sister, 500 miles away. He simply maintained the frequency of wholeness in his mind, letting it resonate outward like ripples on still water. That evening, his sister called to share how she had felt waves of comfort washing over her at the exact time of his practice. No words had crossed the distance, yet healing had traversed space itself. These experiences unveil a profound truth. Vibration precedes sound just as energy precedes matter. Your thoughts, carried on waves of pure intention, reach into the fabric of reality before they ever take form as spoken words. The universe reads the frequency of your consciousness directly, requiring no translation into sound. This knowledge transforms our understanding of manifestation. Like a radio tower broadcasting on invisible frequencies, your mind transmits its intentions into the field of all possibility. The key lies not in the volume of expression, but in the clarity and conviction of the thought itself. Sacred practice. Find a space of complete quiet. Close your eyes and allow your breath to settle into a gentle rhythm. Bring the two sacred words into your mind with absolute clarity. Hold them in your consciousness as if they are already manifest reality. Trust completely that the universe receives these thoughts with perfect understanding. Let the vibration of these words resonate in the silence of your being, knowing that in this quiet space, you are in direct communion with the creative force of all existence. Chapter 24. The Breath Becoming Light. In the stillness of dawn, Elsie sat in meditation, her attention gently resting on each breath. As minutes passed, something extraordinary began to unfold. The air around her seemed to take on subtle hues, first gold, then violet, then a shimmering blue that danced at the edges of her vision. With each inhalation, these colors grew more vivid, as if the very atmosphere carried threads of light waiting to be perceived by those who looked deeply enough. What Elsie discovered through direct experience, Clyde came to understand through an unexpected revelation. During his morning practice, he noticed that moments of pure love coincided with a distinct shift in his breathing, as if his lungs were drawing in something more refined than ordinary air. This was not mere coincidence, but pointed to an ancient truth. The breath serves as a bridge between the physical and luminous realms. The mystery schools of antiquity knew this secret well. They understood that pneuma, breath or spirit, represents more than mere respiration. It is the vehicle through which light enters being. Each inhalation draws in not only oxygen, but also the subtle radiance that sustains consciousness itself. Each exhalation releases not just carbon dioxide, but carries the potential to broadcast your inner light into the world. This understanding transforms the simple act of breathing into a sacred exchange with the universe. When you breathe with awareness, you participate in a cosmic circulation of light. Your body becomes a prism, refracting divine radiance through the lens of your unique consciousness. The quality of this exchange depends largely on your inner state. Love acts as an amplifier, expanding your capacity to receive and transmit this subtle light. When your heart opens, the breath naturally deepens, allowing more of this luminous essence to flow through your being. This is why moments of profound love often feel bright, as if you are glowing from within. The ancient teachings speak of the breath as a golden thread connecting earth and sky, matter and spirit. Through conscious breathing, you learn to weave with this thread, creating patterns of light in the fabric of reality. Each breath becomes an opportunity to absorb more of the universe's radiance and to share your inner light with the world. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Settle into a comfortable position and gently close your eyes. Begin to follow your natural breath, feeling the rhythm of inhalation and exhalation. As you breathe, imagine that the air is filled with pure, golden light. On your next inhalation, silently speak the first sacred word while drawing this luminous air deep into your being. As you exhale, speak the second word internally, feeling the light expand outward from your heart center. Continue this practice, allowing the glow to build with each breath cycle until you sense yourself becoming a beacon of gentle radiance. Chapter 25. The Union of Sight. A merchant walked through crowded streets, selling fabrics from distant lands. His eyes met those of passers-by, the hurried banker, the tired mother, the laughing child. In each gaze he recognized a fragment of universal consciousness looking back at him. Through this simple act of recognition, walls between self and other dissolved into mist. The ancient wisdom reveals that what you see before you is but a reflection of inner sight. When you look upon the world through eyes of judgment, the universe arranges itself to confirm your expectations. Yet when you train your vision to perceive the divine spark in all beings, reality shifts to mirror this higher awareness. June discovered this truth through patient practice. Where once she saw flaws and differences, she began to recognize the sacred light animating each form. The impatient clerk became a teacher of patience. The angry stranger transformed into a mirror of unhealed wounds seeking acknowledgement. Through this shift in perception, June's world transformed from a place of separation to one of profound connection. Ned's experience affirmed this teaching. In his work mediating disputes, he stopped seeing opponents and started recognizing souls temporarily forgetting their unity. As his vision cleared, the very nature of conflict began to shift. Those who entered his office bristling with grievances found their anger softening in the presence of his accepting gaze. The teaching speaks clearly. Your perception creates the world you inhabit. When you look through eyes of division, you manifest experiences of separation. When you train your vision to recognize underlying unity, the universe rearranges itself to reflect this truth back to you. This is not mere philosophy, but practical wisdom verified through experience. Each time you choose to see past surface appearances to the essential light within all beings, you participate in the great remembering. This is the sacred art of recognition, the practice of perceiving through the eyes of unity consciousness. The ancient practice. Settle into a comfortable position and soften your gaze. Look upon your surroundings as though seeing them for the first time. As you repeat your sacred phrase, allow the boundaries between observer and observed to gently dissolve. Notice how all forms arise from and return to the same infinite light. Continue until you feel the radiant unity that has always been present, waiting to be recognized through your awakened vision. Chapter 26. The Sacred Ordinary. In times long past, a humble potter spent his days crafting vessels from clay. With each turn of his wheel, he whispered words of blessing into the wet earth. Those who drank from his cups spoke of an inexplicable peace that seemed to flow from the very material itself. The mysteries of creation unfold not only in grand moments of revelation, but in the quiet corners of daily life. The sacred pulses through every action, waiting to be recognized through conscious attention. When you infuse ordinary tasks with divine awareness, the mundane transforms into meditation. Olive discovered this truth while standing at her kitchen sink. The steam rising from warm water, the rainbow swirls of soap, the gentle clink of dishes, all became instruments in a symphony of presence. She found that enlightenment wasn't hiding in faraway temples, but in the simple act of washing a plate with full attention. Each dish became an altar, each movement a prayer, until the entire kitchen hummed with unspoken reverence. Roger's workshop told a similar story. Sawdust and wood shavings covered the floor as he methodically cleaned his space, turning what could have been a tedious task into sacred ritual. With each sweep of the broom, he murmured words of gratitude. The familiar rhythms of cleaning became a dance of devotion, and the silence between his movements rang with the same depth as any temple bell. His simple practice revealed that holiness requires no special location. It emerges whenever attention meets action with love. This wisdom teaches that divinity doesn't discriminate between moments. The universe doesn't recognize your arbitrary divisions between spiritual and mundane activities. Every gesture contains the potential for awakening when approached with conscious awareness. Whether folding laundry, preparing meals, or tending to paperwork, each action offers an invitation to commune with the infinite. The ancient practice. Choose one routine task from your daily life. As you engage in this activity, let your movements slow and your awareness deepen. Allow your sacred words to merge naturally with the rhythm of your actions. Notice how the ordinary begins to shimmer with extraordinary presence. Continue until you feel the task itself becoming a form of prayer, and matter singing back its own devotion. Chapter 27. The Infinite Conversation. In the velvet darkness of night, where stars pierce the veil between worlds, ancient wisdom whispers through pinpoints of light. This eternal conversation flows, whether you notice it or not, like a river of celestial grace streaming through the cosmos. Think of the universe as an infinite mirror, reflecting back every thought, every prayer, every silent yearning of your heart. When you speak to the stars, you are not sending your words into a void, but rather engaging in an eternal dialogue that began before time itself. The secret lies in understanding that the universe's response precedes your question. Even as you form the thought to ask, the answer already exists within the fabric of creation. This truth unveils itself when you still the rushing waters of your mind enough to perceive it. When Sylvia turned her face to the night sky, she discovered that guidance arrived in the pause between her thoughts. The stars seemed to pulse with knowing, their ancient light carrying messages that her heart understood before her mind could translate them into words. In that space of pure receptivity, she learned that asking and receiving are not separate moments, but one continuous flow. Walter's revelation came through persistence. Night after night he would step into his garden, speaking his truth to the cosmos. Gradually, he noticed that what he had thought was silence was actually filled with response. In the rustle of leaves, in the rhythm of crickets, in the very air that embraced him. His breakthrough wasn't in learning how to ask better questions, but in recognizing that every moment carries divine reply. This celestial dialogue operates beyond the constraints of time. The universe doesn't wait for your words to finish before beginning its response. It moves in perfect synchronicity with your deepest intentions. Your role is not to speak and then wait, but to enter the eternal dance of give and receive that never ceases. The wisdom of ages reveals that prayer is not a one-way transmission, but a continuous circuit of energy. Every sincere utterance creates ripples in the cosmic ocean, returning amplified by divine love. The stars don't just hear your words, they sing them back to you, enriched with the harmony of infinite understanding. The practice. Find a quiet spot beneath the open sky, preferably at night. Let your eyes rest upon the stars while breathing deeply and slowly. Speak your sacred words once, then become completely still. Rather than waiting for an answer, tune into the immediate response that surrounds you, in the wind's touch, in the starlight's gleam, in the peaceful silence of your heart. Allow yourself to sense how the universe multiplies your words with love, returning them as pure light. Remain in this receptive state until you feel the seamless flow of this eternal conversation. Chapter 28. The Light Named You. An ancient story tells of Esther, who drifted into slumber one evening and found herself transformed. In her dream state, sacred phrases of light traced themselves across her form, each syllable pulsing with divine recognition. As she witnessed this illumination, understanding dawned. These words were not merely written upon her, but emanating from within, revealing a truth her conscious mind had forgotten. The inner light you carry is not separate from the eternal radiance of creation itself. Like Howard, who awakened to discover that worth flows not from achievement, but from alignment with your original nature, you too hold this remembrance within. The sacred words you speak are not mere sounds, but keys unlocking the memory of your divine essence. When you utter these phrases with pure intention, you activate a frequency of recognition. This vibration reminds every cell of its celestial origin, every thought of its sacred source. The forbidden word, so long veiled behind doctrine and dogma, reveals itself as your own true nature, the divine made manifest through human form. This revelation transforms speaking into remembrance. Each utterance becomes not a request to something external, but an awakening to what already resides within. The words themselves carry the power to dissolve the illusion of separation, revealing that what you seek has never left you. As you speak, feel how the vibration originates not from your voice alone, but from the very core of your being. Let each word ripple through your awareness until you recognize that speaker and spoken are one. This is not manifestation, but revelation, the uncovering of what has always been true. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment and settle into peaceful awareness. Begin repeating the sacred words while directing your smile inward. Let this inner smile grow with each repetition until you feel it illuminating every corner of your being. Continue until you no longer distinguish between your identity and the radiance itself. They have become one unified expression of divine presence. Chapter 29. The Silence Beyond Prayer. In a garden filled with morning mist, Vera discovered the deepest truth of sacred speech. As she prepared to utter her daily affirmations, something shifted within. The words she had faithfully spoken dissolved into a profound stillness, and in that space she found a power beyond language. Her presence alone became prayer, her being the offering. Through stillness, you access the original vibration that precedes all speech. This is not the absence of communication, but its purest form, the resonance from which all words emerge. When you reach this threshold, effort gives way to effortless being. Frank encountered this same mystery during his morning meditation. Where once he strived to shape reality, Through careful phrases, he found himself embraced by a quiet certainty. In this sacred stillness, his intentions manifested with graceful ease, as though creation itself responded to the unspoken truth within his heart. The universe recognizes your deepest prayers before they form into words. In the space between thoughts, in the pause between breaths, lies a frequency of pure potential. Here, manifestation occurs not through the power of speech, but through the alignment of your entire being with divine silence. This silence is not empty. It carries the fullness of all possibility. It is the canvas upon which creation paints itself, the womb from which all form emerges. When you rest in this awareness, you participate in the original act of creation itself. Your journey with the sacred words leads ultimately to this revelation. True power resides not in what is spoken, but in the consciousness that holds the words. As you evolve in understanding, speech becomes unnecessary, replaced by direct communion with the source of all vibration. Sacred practice. Release all sound and settle into natural breath. After each exhale, rest in the subtle vibration that remains. Notice how this humming silence feels alive, pregnant with potential. Let this be your prayer, not words shaped by tongue and breath, but pure awareness resonating with divine presence. Here, in this sacred stillness, you touch the eternal word that speaks all things into being. Chapter 30. The Living Word. Long before the sun touched the horizon, Ada would begin her sacred practice, not through spoken affirmations or written declarations, but through the simple art of being. Her presence carried a frequency that transformed the ordinary into the extraordinary. Those who crossed her path felt an inexplicable shift, as though stepping into a field of grace where worries dissolved and peace prevailed. This is the highest teaching. When you embody the sacred vibration, your mere presence becomes a blessing. The power lies not in what you say, but in what you have become. The universe responds not to your words, but to your state of being. Cedric discovered this truth through his encounters with Ada. Each morning, as they shared quiet moments in the village square, he noticed how reality seemed to arrange itself with effortless precision. Opportunities appeared, solutions emerged, and harmony prevailed, all without a single word being spoken. Their shared silence carried more power than 1,000 prayers. This represents the final evolution of sacred speech, when you no longer need to voice the words because you have become them. Your thoughts, actions, and very presence resonate with the frequency of creation itself. Like a tuning fork that has found perfect pitch, you naturally bring all around you into harmony. The physical world responds to this embodied consciousness with remarkable sensitivity. Just as plants lean toward sunlight, circumstances begin to align with your inner state. This is not magic, but the natural law of resonance at work. When you achieve consistency between your inner truth and outer expression, you become a living prayer. The ancient masters knew this secret. True power flows not from what we say, but from what we are. Words may initiate change, but being sustains transformation. This is why Ada's influence extended far beyond her immediate circle. She had transcended the need for verbal expression by becoming the living embodiment of the sacred. Practice. Let your daily life speak through kindness until every glance, every gesture recites the sacred syllables without need to voice them. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. You now arrive at the quiet crossing where method fades into essence, where what was once practiced becomes what you are. The path you walked was never about acquiring power, but about remembering it. What you sought through sacred utterance reveals itself as your own nature, waiting patiently beneath effort and intention. The discipline that once required attention now moves through you without command. You no longer summon the current. You are the current. Your silence speaks with greater authority than words once did. In your stillness, reality listens. In your presence, unseen harmonies realign themselves, not because you will it, but because it is so. Those first resonant words that awakened you have dissolved into your being. They no longer need repetition, for they circulate as breath, thought, and awareness itself. As fire does not strain to burn, you do not strain to radiate. You simply exist, and existence responds. This is the hidden completion, speech giving way to emanation. You have crossed from sounding truth into living it. Each step you take carries an invisible blessing. Each moment becomes a quiet instruction to the universe, delivered without effort, without sound. Yet understand, this is not a final chapter, but an inward turning of the spiral. The mystery does not end, it deepens. You now walk as the teaching once sought, your life an unspoken scripture. Others may feel something shift in your presence and not know why. That is the Logos moving through form. You have learned the great inversion, that true authority arises when the hunger for control dissolves. Power rests most fully in surrender. When nothing is grasped, everything flows. Remain here. Let breath, heartbeat, and awareness merge into one continual prayer. Do not try to hold this state. Being cannot be held. Simply rest. You are the word made living, the silence that creates, the echo of the infinite, discovering itself through you.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.